going on, friends and family? My name is Skylent, and today I wanted to do a little bit of a rant talking about pretty much the one thing that I think is kind of killing the current modern MMO scene genre, the specific games, really. But though we only have so many games that are like actually kind of worth playing. So those specific games, what's the thing in them that is kind of ruining it for everyone else, and most people probably who would really want to get into the genre of massively multiplayer online games. And immediately, I think a lot of you guys have your own thoughts and opinions. I want to know them. Keyboard warrior it up, comment it down below. But actually, this is kind of inspired by a little bit of a, I don't know if it's a fight really, but it was a little bit of discord in an MMO Discord, Last Oasis actually. Somebody was spewing like, just some raw emotions, especially because of the news from New World about how they're gonna kind of gut their PvP. And this kind of happens a lot with a lot of PvP MMOs. We don't really got good PvP MMOs. So this guy, feeling something raw, was all like, you know what? I hate solo players in MMOs. I hate that games are designed around being single player nowadays, which, by the way, I've actually done a top 10 single player MMO list, and it's actually hype. You know, there's some fun to be had there for sure. I've even done rant videos on what it means to play solo versus playing alone. There's a difference, and why somebody might want to play, I guess, an MMO, you know, not exactly in a group, not in a party, not even in a guild, but just to kind of organically traverse and wander around. There is something really special and potent with that style of gameplay. But anyways, there's a couple people were trying to chime in and tell him that actually there's reasons why people might play this or not, but still, actually, I feel like what he said had some merit. The idea that a lot of MMOs are designed around seemingly single player content, or, you know, that's just kind of how it feels compared to true MMO content. And I'm here to give my own thoughts and feelings on that and kind of actually flip it around. I'm going to give you an argument that you probably haven't exactly heard, or not exactly with these words. So immediately, I think what I want to say and what I wanted to title this video, but I know it would have just got massive dislikes, but I'm sure I'll convince you by the end of it, is I wanted to title it Group Play is Killing MMOs. And that sounds funny, right? Because it's like, that's an oxymoron in a way, isn't it? It doesn't make sense, because MMOs are social games, they're multiplayer online games, massively multiplayer, so it's like, you know, you want to group, you want to co-op. The thing that everyone's complaining about is all these games lack cooperation, or they lack organic and dynamic engagement, like with the community, like the economy, you know, interacting, world PvP, things like that, cat and mouse style, ganking, and obviously like world bosses, things like that. A lot of you guys, I think, are actually kind of getting it wrong. And here's a great, perfect example that'll instantaneously kind of get you in the right mindset. Now look at modern World of Warcraft, okay? And now compare it to classic World of Warcraft. And then you can immediately see how group play has actually killed the modern MMO. So I think a lot of people know this, actually, and it's a big contention whenever games such as Albion Online actually introduced these instanced PvP and instanced dungeons, when the whole game is about, you know, perforating, I guess, players perpetually through the world. You really need a proper ecosystem of players funneling around and playing the MMO portion of the game. But when you have people like in World of Warcraft who just sit in a hub town, who are just sitting in a dungeon queue and only play basically 5-player content, then you're detracting from the open world PvP. You're detracting from the open world questing. You're detracting from open world events. You're detracting from the massively multiplayer. Just because you have a hub town and just because you do dungeons doesn't make you an MMO. Just because you're an online fantasy game doesn't make you an MMORPG. What makes you an MMO is giant fucking boss fights like in Guild Wars 2, those open world events, the dynamic events. That's huge. You know, Elder Scrolls Online, world versus world realm stuff, that makes you an MMO. Classic World of Warcraft, the organic PvEVP, players running around and dynamic grouping and partying and interacting with other players. Even though you're running around alone, you're having an effect and a ripple effect across the entire ecosystem. Well, not entire ecosystem, but you know what I'm saying, guys, is there's definitely more to online play that MMOs can introduce, but often a lot of people kind of forget. So then what happens is you get trending games like Final Fantasy XIV, a good game, a good Final Fantasy game, but in my opinion, a bad MMO. It doesn't have the notoriety of giant open world bosses or giant PvP or really like giant, huge land masses where players are organically PvEVPing or, just doing really engaging content that engages the MMO portion of massively multiplayer. Really, people just dungeon dive. Same thing with World of Warcraft, and that's what happened to WildStar. And when you have all of these holes in your gameplay loop where people are going into the arenas or the battlegrounds or questing, or there's a single player portion, which is something that I applaud. I did a top 10 single player MMO list. It's something kind of interesting to have, and you do want a game that you can live in and do a multitude of things, but as much as possible, you want players to funnel around and play in the multiple gameplay loops and loop between them overall. But what ends up happening is really people just sit in the hub town and they just queue. They just queue up for dungeons or they queue up for arenas, and that's life. Or they'll just log in for the seasonal events, which happens in Guild Wars 2. And again, there's almost nothing wrong with that style of gameplay. I can't blame individual players, and if you don't understand what I'm saying right now, I don't even blame you, because MMOs really today are designed around making it seem as social as possible and seem as MMO as possible. And a lot of these games aren't even MMOs, and they don't want you to do the open world PvP. They don't want to have to work on that server architecture or that balancing and, just fuck it. Just do the dungeons, my dudes. And then, they could focus on creating really fun dungeon content. Nothing wrong with that. I love games like Dark Souls or Monster Hunter, and I actually do love the end game of something like Terra or World of Warcraft, and I probably need to do that for Final Fantasy XIV, that's for sure. But in the end, what makes an MMO an MMO is the massive content. It's really the massivity, that's the big open world stuff. That's going to be raids, that's going to be, it's really self-explanatory, but at the same time, a lot of people are kind of forgetting. So when they see a game like Black Desert, as an example, they yell at everyone who enjoys that kind of game because it's a single player game, which it kind of is. But really, up to level 56, that's a tutorial. A lot of people complain that the early levels suck in MMOs. I have as well, and they do, but that is also the tutorial. The real game of MMOs is you gotta join a guild and you gotta play the MMO as if it was an MMO. You gotta join discords and forums, and there is in some games like Eve and Albion, there's like espionage and diplomacy, and there's definitely some cutthroat stuff going on with the guild's content. You gotta play the game like that. But a lot of these games don't really give you the tools. I can't really say that there's a lot of fun guild stuff in World of Warcraft other than World Firsts, which are mostly run by 2 guilds and really won by just one method. World Firsts, you have the arena content. When it comes to what made WoW an MMO and really a great MMO, they had to remake the game. They had to remake Classic just to prove that. So in my opinion, when people are saying, well, it's all this single player content, it's making this game easy and, soloable. No, that's not what makes the MMO bad. I soloed content in Albion. I play Black Desert as well, very soloable. There's a lot of games that are soloable, but really the true content is actually playing with a guild and dynamically, organically partying up. This is something that happens in Guild Wars 2, Realm of the Mad God. And, there is a way to be social and so social that it's antisocial. So I kind of get that. Like Realm of the Mad God, it's hard to make guilds and play with people and make friends in a way because it's so dynamic and just so quick and fast paced. But, it's hard to say this is bad, this is good. But in the end, what I want to say is, in terms of the term of MMO, it's group play. It's the false MMO gameplay. It is the illusion of massivity that is killing the MMO genre. So next time that you're just running dungeons and you think that's all the MMO genre has to offer, I don't know, check out Eve Online, check out Albion Online, or really dig into some of these bigger games like Guild Wars 2 when it comes to like the open world bosses and things like that. There's a lot of fun, massive content out there that's really, it's kind of strewn throughout, and it's in a lot of bad games, and I get it. A lot of these games do offer a lot of things that, like for instance, Guild Wars 2, it has the best open world bosses, and yet it does have a single player campaign. It's highly instanced. Players are jumping around all over the place. It's very lighthearted in a lot of ways. And then it has the expansions that separate the player base. So a lot of these games, it's really hard to find what's really good about them. So I totally get it. You get a game like Final Fantasy 14 and you just want to run the dungeons. Game looks great. You find a class that's really fun, whatever. You want to press buttons and kill cool bosses and hear cool music, and it's a spectacle. But is it an MMO, Does it have that true massivity? No, it doesn't. These games don't. World of Warcraft is losing it, or really have lost it. Final Fantasy 14, and we're seeing trends and trends of games that aren't even MMOs calling themselves MMOs, because that's just what people think it is now. It's like, okay, you just hub down, queue for a dungeon. No, all that I think is kind of cancer. If you're okay just playing in little groups, joining cooperatively with 1, 2, 3 other people, just having a small guild and just doing some oh my god, mobile games, asynchronous gameplay where it's not even technically real time, or you're not really engaging with anybody. All of that is fake group content. And in the end, if you're okay with just group content or 8 versus 8 PvP, then you're not really interested in playing an MMO, in my opinion. And there was some great MMOs back in the day, and even now, we have old school RuneScape, true MMO. Classic WoW actually was reinvented, and Guild Wars 2 tried to do some things. Elder Scrolls Online is actually doing pretty great right now. And then again, of course, every game, I think actually all those games I mentioned could be considered single-player games in their own right for some reason or another. Still, the potential there for massivity is there. That's the magic of MMOs, that discovery and organically, running through a community of players, meeting dynamically. Maybe it's a ganker, maybe it's somebody who's going to help you. Maybe you need somebody to fight a world boss, or maybe not. That's the thing, is people want games to be harder, more difficult, more challenging. They want the world bosses to matter. They want it to sting and you to need other players. I get it. I actually do appreciate more games that do that require a need of other players. And I do think that's something that needs to happen. But at the same time, whenever games just really focus on just 4 players or 5 players, no. That's a half measure, and you guys are kind of missing the picture. So if you're just okay with just needing one other person to beat a world boss or an elite monster, no, that's not good enough for me in the end. I want an entire city to be needed. I want entire players, swaths of players, really full guilds to get together to do raids. I really want to do actual MMO content. So all of you guys who are like, oh man, we want games to be harder and things like that, I need you to realize that there's different types of gameplay. You have Monster Hunter type of games, you have Dark Souls type of games, you have then Realm of the Mad God style games, and then oh my god, there's so many ways to do multiplayer, from asymmetrical, different styles of PvP, battlegrounds, arenas, and all those make a difference. And that's why we even this genre specifically is named after the number of players that you play. It's very rare that happens. Very rare. So MMO. Yeah, I really want to play the actual MMO. I don't want to just simply group with 4 players and run through the entire game WildStar style or Terra style or now modern World of Warcraft. I don't want to do that. I want to play with the entire server. And if that means, sometimes that does mean playing solo, like I do in Albion. It means running around alone, talking to different guildies, seeing what's going on, sometimes getting zerged, and sometimes, ninja looting, things like that. Sometimes playing solo can feel more massive because you have that opportunity and that freedom, and more MMOs need to be more free from the mentality of group play. Must be co-op, must be group, must be PvP, or what have you. It needs to be more free. It needs to be a world that's more breathable and has room for that actual true massivity. And when you have the mindset of solo bad, group play good, then you are going to just get copy pastes of modern World of Warcraft, which we do get, Final Fantasy 14, and so on and so forth. And that's just kind of a tragedy. Or you kind of get it opposite, actually, where you get games kind of like For Honor, which kind of pretend to be an MMO, Heroes and Generals, and a few others, where it's they're really not MMOs, but they call themselves MMOs, but it's it's PvP, but there's stats and progression. No. Anyways, so that's what's going to keep happening until I don't like blaming players, but one thing that we can do is be more vocal about specifically what we want. So for me, it's going to be big open world, giant monster fights, giant, army fights, sieges, sieges, big thing I really want. And things that really can change and shape the world, that really players can engage with the entire player base, the entire server, what have you. It's not just instance for V4 or 4-player dungeons or something like that. So yeah, you know what? That's I think I said everything I could possibly have said. That's the writ, guys. Group play is killing MMOs because, I mean, it's just a group. It's just a party that's not truly massive. And that mentality is what's kind of skewing everything awry. That's pretty much it. So, yeah, if you guys want to hear more of my particular opinions on online gaming and games as a service, that's what I'm here for. Peel some eyeballs on the Patreon. Friends and family, like, subscribe, bump the thumb, you know, all that good stuff, I guess. And yeah, that's pretty much it. My name's Skylent. I'm recording in a closet. Much love, and I'll see you in the next one.